Asri report on Sabahul Muslim.
Joining us this morning for the Asri report from the team is Sister Fadhlin Fransman Talib, all the way from Cape Town. Sister Fadhlin, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to Radio Islam International.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Maulana, and to all of your listeners and viewers.
We're seeing splinter movements like Floyd Shibambu's Maibuye, Africa, and other small formations emerging alongside established players. How does this fragmentation shift South Africa's electoral map heading into 2026, and who ultimately benefits from this splintering?
Yeah, I think to be able to understand the splintering specifically of Floyd Shibambu's new political party, we need to ask several questions. One of those questions is, what does his base look like? So obviously, when he splintered from the EFF, there was a portion, or there's believed to be a portion of the EFF that went with him. How sizable that portion is, obviously, is questionable. The question is whether they moved because they believed in Floyd, or whether they moved because they believed in, at the time, was being pushed this notion of a collaborative and one unified opposition political party that was the progressive opposition. So if the notion of why people left the EFF for MK specifically was because they wanted the progressive movement to be under one banner, it then splintering, I don't think necessarily that those people would follow him unless their motivation in the beginning was, I believe in Floyd and his policies. And so I think they raises several questions on whether or not Floyd actually has a base. I think the second question with his political party, and broadly speaking with any splinter movement, is whether or not they have popular support amongst the masses. And I think one of the key things that sometimes politicians misconstrue is this notion that if you're popular on social media, that actually translates into votes. And we can see this on platforms like X and Twitter, where, for example, the EFF is very dominant. Their membership is very dominant, and one can, kind of get into this belief that is the dominant political party within South Africa, and obviously we know that is not the case. So it does ask a lot of questions on whether or not there will actually be, tangible pull for this political party. I think the third question to ask is who is the prominent people that will be joining this movement, because that's the key thing. Is this going to be a one-man band? Or is this going to be a collective of individuals that are being pulled from different formations? And the sad part of this is obviously that this notion in terms of why, for example, Floyd and many people joined the MK is to say our opposition needs to be one broad umbrella of progressives. That is being splintered, and so that mission is being diluted. And now the question really is who benefits from this? And if you look at Parliament, you have this informal caucus called the Progressive Caucus, right? And the reality is the Progressive Caucus actually doesn't benefit with splintering. I mean, in Cape Town, for example, we also saw the splintering of the NCC, which is the National Coloured Congress as well. Again, it is not necessarily the Progressive Caucus that benefits, but it is other political parties that end up benefiting. Whether or not this political party will have any sort of pull leading into the 2026 elections is the next few months we'll have to see. But I think the key thing that politicians need to take is, one, what does your base look like? And this is what people need to understand. What are your policies? And we need to pay a key attention to who are the people that are joining this political movement. Is this just noise, or is this or somebody that feels disfranchised by the existing movements and wants to have his own political space? Or is this a political party that's offering an alternative? And what does that alternative mean? Is it different from NK? Is it different from EFF? Is it different from the ANC? Or is it just more of the same, just under a different banner?
Let's move on. We look at the rise of crime and gangsterism in Cape Town. Was Cape Town rocked by a spate of gang-related killings and violent crime surging elsewhere? How effective have responses been from local, provincial, and national government? And what's missing in the fight against gangsterism?
So this is something that, Cape Town, and I think pockets of South Africa across South Africa has been facing. Crime has risen, but in Cape Town specifically, we have a gang violence problem. We have a problem where we have young people that are jobless, that don't have necessarily facilities in their community, that don't sometimes have really positive role models, that are going into these gangs. And so the question really is firstly, does government have a multi-pronged approach to be able to deal with these social ills? Because crime is something that you need to look at from a prevention perspective, but also from an enforcement perspective. And I think this is where we're missing the beat, because firstly, it has to be interdisciplinary. We need to look at what are the social programs that are taking place in each community where there's these gang violence. What does the unemployment look like? What does opportunities look like for young people? And I think this is where political parties are missing the beat and also passing the buck. So we see the debate happening between the different spheres of government, and them talking about the fact that, in the Western Cape, you have, for example, this notion that we need more powers to be able to arrest and do more things, and that's obviously coming from the city of Cape Town. And then obviously from national government, there is this pushing of the blame, I think, between the different political parties, and that's and the different spheres of government. But that challenge is problematic, because the thing is if we look at crime only, and specifically gangsterism and drug abuse and that whole systemic social ills that exist in the community, if we're only looking at it from a SAPS perspective or a law enforcement perspective, we're never really dealing with the root causes. And this is the challenge, because where is the interdisciplinary strategy to be able to combat gang violence on the Cape Flats? What is social development doing to be able to do it? What rehabilitation facilities are available? What prevention programs are we rolling out through the Department of Education? How are we making sure that kids stay in school? It's a complex issue that is not necessarily just going to be solved by arresting the criminals. We need to make sure that the flow of children into gangsterism, that flow stops. And this is where the problem rests, is that the conversation nationally and even within the communities is so focused on policing that we're missing the fact that we need to have an interdisciplinary approach. And I think that is part of what the challenge is. And this is why, unless we have that interdisciplinary approach, we're going to sit with this challenge for a very long time to come.
And then finally, let's talk about Walmart coming to South Africa, with Walmart set to open its first branded store in South Africa, promising local supplier partnerships and lower prices. What will the real impact be on jobs, small retailers, and investment in the local economy? Are we looking at a genuine growth of opportunities or another wave of market concentration?
So I think we need to understand Walmart in two ways. So I think one of the key things people are missing is that Walmart is part of Massmart. So here we're talking about Game, we're talking about Macro. They're all part of the same group. So it's not necessarily that Walmart is investing blindly and newly into a new market. It's part of an existing family. That's one key thing I think to highlight. The second key thing, and this is a good thing, is that this is a new investment into the economy. And new investment into the economy is coming in two forms. For one, we're opening stores. So there's an infrastructure component. Two, there's jobs. This is obviously the projection is that they're going to be opening stores across the country. So that means there's a new influx of possible employment opportunities across the board in different provinces for communities. I think the third aspect is the supply chain, right? When you have a new player, and possibly a big player as big as Walmart is, that has a massive impact on the supply chain, right? And that means that there's possibly more work within that supply chain as well. So broadly speaking, those are the pros. Obviously, there are some initial what we say cons or initial concerns that we might raise, and this is with regards to what does reinvestment within the economy look like? I think that's one key aspect. But also, in terms of their supply chain, is it going to be focused on local products? And they have said this, but there obviously is no affirmation of that. Is it going to be focused on local products, or are we going to be importing? Because the key thing in terms of job creation is not just the people that are going to be manning the stores, it's going to be the people that are supplying the products for those stores. And here is I think the key thing is, this is when we say, when we want investment into the economy, it's not just direct jobs, it's indirect jobs that are being created. And so this has to be a key aspect that we have to focus on, and also put pressure on the Massmart group to be able to say, we do want to make sure that you empower the supply chain within the local economy, and that it's not just import based. But broadly speaking, this is a really good thing, I think, for South Africa. We've spoken so extensively about foreign direct investment, about the need for foreign governments, and of foreign governments, foreign organizations and businesses across the globe to be investing in South Africa, to be opening businesses, to be opening stores. We've been talking about this, I think, since President Ramaphosa's come into power. This has been something that has been a key focus in terms of investment. This is something I think that can be largely positive. Obviously, if, for example, the benefits are very, very clear. I think the other key thing is, when we talk about competition. So this is possibly a key con that we have to evaluate. Walmart is part of the Massmart group. Massmart has, as I said, Game, it has Macro, and it has several other stores as well under its banner. We have to obviously, on a purely economic basis, be concerned about competition within this market, and what does competition look like, and does this push out local stores, and how will that have an impact on local stores in terms of competition, or are we kind of centering it around a group that has control of different parts of the market share? So this is something that is very concerning. Obviously, with more competition in the market, competition to other brands, whether it be your Pick n Pays, your Shoprites, etc., it is a good thing, because that means with more competition, prices either get pushed up or they get pushed down, and that is a good thing as we compete for market share. And so, in that way, the consumer actually will possibly benefit in that way. But it is concerning for, if you think about the local economy in our townships, where there is a high concentration on your spaza shops, your informal economy, and with a greater competition on the higher end, this could have an impact on them, because that means people are flocking to your formal stores far more than your informal stores, and so there is a net impact on that side. However, that being said, I think broadly speaking, for the economy, this is a good thing, because it's an investment in jobs. It's hopefully an investment in the broader supply chain. And I think this, if this is successful, what it will show to other brands is that South Africa is open for business, and that we encourage more investment into our economy.
Sister Fadhlin, Jazakallah khairan for your time. Much appreciated on Radio Islam International.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Bringing us up to 8:27.